Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to CeLillianne Green's Evening of Poetry and Jazz, live at 10th and G. Ms. Green wishes to thank the audience for your presence. If you have not done so, she asks you to please print your contact information in her guest book in the lobby. Ms. Green asks the audience to look in your program at the names of the musicians, the production team, the cast members, and the poetry patrons. She wants you to read their names and to know how grateful she is for their artistry, skill, time, energy, and patronage in support of this event. Before Ms. Green and the musicians enter the sanctuary, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. Video or audio recording of this program is prohibited. Flash photography is also prohibited. Thank you for your cooperation. As some of you may know, April is Poetry and Jazz Appreciation Month. With this in mind, please relax and enjoy CeLillianne Green's Evening of Poetry and Jazz, featuring Nassar Abade on drums. Wes Biles on bass. Bill Washburn on piano. And Lorenz Wheatley on saxophone and flute. Thank you.
I pour this libation into fertile earth. I pour this libation for the ancestors' birth. For the African ancestors known and unknown, I pour this libation for Africans forced from their homes. I pour this libation for the ancestors' land, the land of the indigenous African man, the land on which the African was born, the African homeland from which they were torn. I pour this libation for the ancestors to come. I acknowledge that we all come from the original one, the original indigenous African woman and man. Their union as one is the reason I stand. So I pour this libation for who I am, and for the ancestors, I raise my hands. Libation for the ancestors. Thank you so much for being here this evening. As many of you know, my name is CeLillianne Green. And it was important for me to pay my respects to the ancestors because, but for them, I would not be here. And I want to start by paying my respects to a particular ancestor who passed in 2017, my mother's sister. In 2006, I wrote a poem for her entitled My Aunt CeLillianne. And so for those of you who have wondered about my name, this should answer the question. My Aunt CeLillianne. My mom's only sister was born on March 5th. She doesn't have a voice to speak clearly with. She did not bear children of her own. To most of the world, she is unknown. My Aunt CeLillianne is wheelchair bound, unable to freely move around. But she's in my heart wherever I go, and I speak our name for the world to know. I have an Aunt CeLillianne. My aunt is aphasic, unable to clearly speak her name. Her life has not been fun and games. It's my charge to say our name and explain the combination from which it came. Celia, Lilla Mae, and Ann too. My great-grandparents and a great-aunt whose first names my grandmom Amy combined and refined for the name which is now mine. My mom and dad proudly gave it to me, and I'm so proud to carry it, as you can see. They crown me with my Aunt CeLillianne's name, and I wear her name as part of my reign. I carry my aunt's name as their firstborn child, to hold it and take care of it for just a little while. I say it proudly between the dimples in my smile, correcting mispronunciations with flair and style. In my name, I carry a legacy of 3 generations of my family tree. So when you see me or when you hear my name, know there are 3 generations who stand with me, because I am CeLillianne, my Aunt CeLillianne's niece. And that's all I have to say. I've said my piece. Thank you. Thank you. Of course, I do have more to say. And these men who are with me on stage are going to help me say it. On the drums, we have Nasser Abide. On the bass, we have Wes Biles. On the piano, we have Bill Washburn. And on the sax and the flute, we have Lorenz Wheatley. So by way of background, poems started to come to me in the fall and the winter of 2005, 2006. And I wrote over 100 poems at that time. And I developed a body of work, as my dad, Sam Green, would say. I developed a body of work. But before that, I had only written one poem entitled Because I Love You, and I wasn't trying to write a poem when I wrote that. That was meant to be a children's book. But in 2005, 2006, my spirit kept wondering, well, why is all this coming? Why are all these poems coming? And I felt the need to go away and to be quiet. And at the time, I would do silent retreats once or twice a year where I would go away and I would not talk. So I called the place where I was going at the time called Day Spring Retreat. and asked to schedule a time to come up there. And before I went, I told a friend of mine that I had this feeling that I was going to be alone. And I wasn't certain what was going to happen when I got there. But once I got there, there was only one car in the parking lot. And so I asked the caretaker, is anybody else here? He said, no, it's just you. And this Day Spring retreat is in the woods on 200 acres. So I was going to be there by myself, and he asked me, was I okay with that? And I said, well, yeah, because I have something I have to hear. I have some questions to ask, and I need some answers, and I needed the silence to do it in. So Day Spring prompted this poem, which I call the Ode to Day Spring. And since today is Earth Day, and the theme this year is Invest in Our Planet, I hope that Ode to Day Spring encourages you to respect nature as an investment in the planet. And one of my people who was volunteering to help me suggested that I ask the audience to close your eyes as you listen to the poem. And maybe you will see what I saw when I was at the Day Spring retreat. This is Ode to Day Spring, Ode to Day Spring. I leave behind the noise of city life. The Day Spring retreat comes into sight. Whether a human on 2 legs or an animal on 4, nature offers much to explore. And I know one thing is true: God is present in all we do. The harmony of God's natural universe is a sound to behold. The sight of it is a joy to watch unfold. At Day Spring, nature has a rhythm all of its own. Be still and listen. You'll hear the tone. The tone of birds gliding through the air. They have instinctive knowledge that God is always there. The chipmunks scurry all about. They do so without hesitation, without any doubt. Meanwhile, the deer, with their elegant prance, stop to make an inquisitive glance. The deer's ears are in a permanent position of the letter Y, as if to ask, why, human, are you so near? This is our home. I live here. Once certain the human who is being means them no harm, the deer move on their way with grace and charm. Amid the plop of acorns as they seem to randomly drop, I realize God chose the intervals and will decide when they stop. In the meantime, acorns, green and brown, they're all around, like wall-to-wall carpet on the Day Spring grounds. Broken branches and twigs are scattered here and there on the ground and caught between the trees in midair. They hang with just that certain flair, confident they wouldn't fall, they wouldn't dare. Of course, there are the tall and steady trees that have arms, elbows, and knees. Look carefully at trees and you will see. You will see trees have limbs and green leafy hair. Trees have eyes to watch and to stare. Yet they provide a protective canopy to show they care. They care about the silent human who is walking around. They care that I don't make a sound. My silence help their roots grow into the ground, and Day Spring trees are all around, watching and waiting to bring a gentle breeze, accompanied by the soft sound of falling leaves. Leaves gliding to the ground moist with morning dew. But in time, leaves crunch as I slowly walk through leaves from shades of brown to green and all the colors in between. Leaves join twigs and branches to pay nature's price, the price to create a gardener's mulch paradise. But when I prefer to walk the wide open greens, the butterflies and other insects create an interesting scene. They follow me to the still water where I can sit for a spell and tell God what I came to tell. When I walk in Day Spring's other parts, I open myself and reveal my heart, especially as I walk inside the labyrinth grooves where the solid rocks cannot be moved. Next stop, stage left with a standing ovation from an audience of trees as I hold my heart and bow to my knees. I am on center stage in the midday spotlight. The birds orchestrate a melody for God's delight. Then at night, the birds are quiet in their nest, allowing a variety of insects to sing their best. The night sound is one to slowly lull me to sleep. And once asleep, I don't hear a peep. Yet nature's symphony is in full surround sound, the perfect complement to my silent sound. Ode to Dayspring. To Dayspring. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. As you know, April is Poetry and Jazz Appreciation Month. And the poet Gil Scott-Heron's birthday was April the 1st. I wrote a poem called Your Evolution Will Not Be Televised as my nod to his poem, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. But mine is about your spiritual evolution, and you can hear it on YouTube. And also, although not a poet, Paul Robeson's birthday was April the 9th, so we definitely should pay tribute to remember him. And Maya Angelou, her birthday was on April the 4th. And this jacket I'm wearing is what I call my Maya Angelou jacket, because it has two quotes from her. And the first one is, "I am woman, phenomenal woman, that's me." And the other one is, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. And this is the words that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson quoted when she was on the South Lawn of the White House following her confirmation. And what's important, too, about Maya Angelou's birthday is that on her 40th birthday, Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968. And afterwards, it was hard for her to celebrate her birthday, but she and Dr. King's widow, Coretta Scott King, would keep in contact with each other on that day in particular. So this poem that I'm going to do next is a tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King. It's called A Man's Worth. A Man's Worth. January 15, 1929 was the birth date of the man who was called to combat hate, the man who wanted freedom to ring, the man of peace, Dr. Martin Luther King. He was a minister with a voice that resonated in your soul, a freedom fighter who only lived to be 39 years old. As you speak or hear others call his name, as you remember his voice or the public's acclaim, as you consider Dr. King's legacy and his worth, there are countless reasons to celebrate his birth. Yet there are some questions that can be asked about how he completed his life's task. Did he help somebody along life's way? Did he call on God? Did he faithfully pray? Did he preach about love, freedom, justice, and peace? Has the need for his preaching ceased? Did he speak and work to serve his people and his nation? Did his teaching strengthen the world's foundation? Were there enemies who hated him? Was he reviled? Did hatred stop him from walking his mile? Did he write a letter from a Birmingham jail? Did he ask others to pray for him so he wouldn't fail? Do you remember the dream that he openly shared? Do you recall his love for his people and that he really cared? Who joined him in his fight against poverty and discrimination? Did you help him without reservation? In 1968, too soon did violence take him away. Does his legacy continue to have something to say? When you hear the name Martin Luther King Jr., do you balance his burdens with his sense of humor? Do you remember his laugh or his bright smile? Could you walk in his shoes for half a mile? Do you recall the man, the brother, the father, the husband, or the son? Do you remember this country before his work was begun? Was there a Nobel Prize for this noble man? A man of vision who had the courage to stand for peace, for justice, for freedom, for love, to stand ready to meet his creator God above. During Reverend King's short time on this earth, is the world better because of his birth? These are some questions you might ask about the man in whose legacy we now bask. Yet there is no question about Dr. King's value or his worth. There is no question about why this nation celebrates his birth. He came and left this nation, this world profoundly changed. For his work, a national memorial bears his name. The memorial honors Dr. King's visionary plan, a plan for justice, love, peace, and freedom for every man. So put your hands together and boldly stand. Stand and applaud the life of this extraordinary man. Stand and commit to doing the work that remains to be done. the work that is needed by its people one by one. Stand and truly honor this honorable man. Then ask, am I doing the very best I can to preserve his vision and fulfill his plan? A man's worth. A man's worth. Thank you. Thank you. When Dr. King was assassinated, it was during a time in my childhood when I would visit my grandmother every summer. And this next poem was inspired by those old school experiences. I used the names that people told me they called their grandmoms, and maybe you'll hear your grandmother's name in this poem. It's entitled Old School. Old School. They don't make them like her anymore. The grandmom you could not ignore. A nana who carried wisdom of the sages handed down through the ages. A mama for trips south in the summer where the oppressive heat was a bummer. It was her way and no other. She was the old-fashioned grandmother. For her life did not provide jewels for her crown. Too often she was burdened and weighed down. Gran was born when indoor plumbing was not always the rule, and an odor from an outhouse was quite cruel. Farms had the basic tools. There was no tractor, just a mule. Granny knew hard work intimately. Too often she worked for free. Hard work was part of living and dying. Children worked too, no escape, no crying. Summertime grands had chores to do in less than a week, but there was hide and seek, don't peek. No school, fun at the pool, croquet and pickball. Be in the yard when Ma dear calls. Party line telephones, listen in, no one knows. Thunder, lightning, and pouring rain. Shucking corn, snapping beans, and eating sugar cane. Clothespins and clotheslines, don't play in the street, have you lost your mind? Fat tree limbs with a truck tire swing. Fat ladies in the church choir can't sing. Old men chewing tobacco and dipping snuff. Granny, why do they like that stuff? Homemade ice cream and Friday fish fries, missing home and starting to cry. Do not leave your dirty clothes on the floor. I'll give you something to cry for. Hands on hips, don't poke out your lips. Laughter and inner tubes float on the lake. Somebody can't swim. Big mistake. Dogs were tied in the yard. Dogs in the house were on guard. Penny candy from the store. Can't get enough, always want more. Food was never wasted. Scraps for the hogs were soon tasted. The hogs were barbecued and basted. All parts eaten, like I said, nothing wasted. Old folks rocking and talking on the porch. Somebody mentions the night of the torch. Too young to understand. Grandma, what is the Klan? High flying on rusty swing sets, no perspiration, just sweat. Longing for a gentle breeze, climbing trees and scraped knees. Mammy was the pharmacy, wounds healed with her remedy. So unlocked doors, linoleum floors, dancing barefoot to the southern beat. Do not rush in this heat. Mosquitoes on the attack. Protect your legs, your arms, your back. At sundown, Mosquito Man drives around, fogging up the air with bug spray, interrupting children at play. Shut the screen door or flies will get in. Where have you been? It's late, well past 8, no dinner, we already ate. Big Mama was old school, children knew the rules. Get a switch from the tree, do not talk back to me. Don't mumble, don't grumble, be quiet, close your mouth, don't make me have to shout. Hind parts were quickly fixed, sleep and tears easily mixed. The next day you're anxious to go out and play. However, in the house you must stay. G-Mom had her say, you misbehaved, so not today. Tomorrow you will again play in the sun, continue to have southern fun. Until then, for the outside you can only yearn. Yet Grand's old school lesson you completely learn. You learn to do as you're told, increasing your chances of growing old. Old enough to return north with a southern accent, Moving down south is where you went. Old school. Old school. You heard your grandmom in there. I have begun to describe my poetry as poetic essays. So this next piece is one of those poetic essays. It's entitled Brown. Brown. We can't force them to our shores. We can't enslave black people anymore. Black people we brought by force on ships across the ocean. Brown people crossed the border without a second notion. We look to those brown people who live next door. They come voluntarily. They come by the school. Many are smuggled in, others walk across the border. The brown immigration is causing too much disorder. Of course, smuggled brown people routinely die, and we routinely turn a blind eye. We allow brown people to come illegally. They do the jobs black people were forced to do for free. To our credit, we have replaced whips and chains. The brown people simply do not receive a wage that is humane. The brown people don't work absolutely free, but they won't get rich or build a dynasty. Yet they do work very hard, hoping one day to get a green card. However, their green card day is less likely to come because we want them to go back to where they come from. We simply do not want them to stay, especially if it means they will stay all day. We do have exception for day laborers receiving minimal pay. That, of course, is the capitalist way. Brown people simply have been too fruitful and multiplied, forcing us to decide. And we've decided we don't want them here anymore. The brown people should return to their home next door. We know some of them have origins in this land, however, that does not change our plans. We are planning to build a wall to separate our nation. We no longer want it to be an easy destination. Of course, we don't want a wall between us and our northern neighbors. Our relationship with them is one we favor. By and large, Canadians are not brown. We welcome Canadians to our towns. The separation wall is only for those others. It's for the brown people who we don't consider our brothers. For them, the separation wall will be very tall, tall enough to keep the brown people out. Those who are here are demonstrating clout, clout that comes from uniting and protesting in the streets. There are millions of them refusing to be discreet. Like the black people who protested and demanded civil rights, brown people are waging a similar fight. They should know as brown people, life has dealt them a certain card. They're meant to work for us and to have a life that's hard. After all, they're brown people, nearly black. They can't change this fundamental fact. Step back. Any hue. What did they really expect us to do? Treat them as equals with equal pay? That certainly has not been our way. However, it's becoming clear oppressing people comes at such a high price. Yet we just can't seem to treat people of color as if they are white. We have enough black people. Now there is too much brown. It's time for brown people to go. They must leave our towns. Of course, we know Native Americans really own much of this land. But we don't want brown people thinking they can make demands. We want the brown people to leave, to go back home. Leave America. Leave us alone. However, there is one detail that we have not quite figured out. As we create a policy to keep the brown people out, we don't know who will do all those brown people jobs. Maybe some low-level white American snobs. Did you hear me? Right, okay. So this next piece is a poem entitled, It Broke. In this poem, a college student provides some insights at just the right time. It broke. Everything was going as planned. The situation seemed well in hand. Then, without warning, on the next stroke, his latex condom simply broke. The pop of the condom he clearly ignored. She, of course, was nearly floored. She stopped moving her body around, didn't make another sound. He, however, was in mid-stride, full of himself and full of his pride. She tried to roll him over on his side, but he wanted to continue and enjoy the ride. She told him, get up right now and don't act like you don't know how. She said, this is surely a sign that you have already had plenty. If you don't get up, and never again will you get any. It'll be all right, keep going, he said. And then she knew he was out of his head. She looked at him as if he was crazy, decided he was just hazy. Caught up in the power of being with her, his mind had become a virtual blur. But she was not hoping to start a family tree. And when they got into bed, neither was he. Now he seemed to think his stroke was all that, but she knew 9 months later she could be fat. She'd be fat and he'd be gone, and she'd be remembering alone what went wrong. She told him, oh no, that's not how it goes. If the condom is broke, you don't continue your stroke. Creating a life is no joke. Plus, you are not married to me. No engagement ring do I see. She said, let me share my perspective. Pregnancy is not a college elective. Remove your body part, a family we will not start. With you, I am not planning to give birth. No child will I bring to this earth. Not under these conditions, a broke condom because of too much friction. No, not this way, not today. My child will be created in a love supreme, in the union of two people who dared to dream of raising a child loved, valued, and wanted, brought into this world by parents undaunted by the challenges they will certainly face, strengthened by a love they both embrace, a love that fills their deep emotional space, the space required to raise a child in this place, a child able to stand tall with parents to catch him when he falls. This child will be rooted in a love supreme, the love of parents who fulfilled their dream. But when she finished what she had to say, his erection had gone away. At that point, he cleared his head, rolled over and got out of bed. The broke condom he unceremoniously flushed, as he realized creating a baby must not be rushed. It broke. Thank you. broke. So we're living in a time of people who prefer lies to the truth. They want to ban books. And sadly, this is not a new strategy for the power hungry. This next poem warns about those who tell civil lies. Civil lies. You came with your civil lies, ostensibly to civilize. To civilize indigenous people who were perfectly fine until they were exposed to the European mind. You came as self-appointed guardians of civilization. Your actions revealed this appointment lacked foundation. It was soon clear that you came in disguise and brought in abundance your civil lies. Your missionaries helped to spread these civil lies, the lies they told only their God knows why. Yet under your God's watchful eye, missionaries promised to take Africans to a place so high, a place where God resided in heavenly glory as they dismissed native culture and indigenous stories. It did not take long for Africans to get the hint. Their best interest was not your intent. Stealing, maiming, killing, raping, and other sordid acts, you intended to civilize them with the most civilized attacks. Civil in whose eyes were these barbarous acts. Civil lies is more like it, and that's the sad fact. Proving that those who claim to be civil will sometimes lie. On them, others must keep a watchful eye. Because the focus on civilizing people of the darker hue leaves the question, who will civilize you? In the face of civil lies from the uncivilized, the beauty of Black people, people of African descent, is shown in their unmatched creativity. Amid the horrors of centuries of enslavement, these people, Black people, people of African descent, created musical art forms that are known and copied worldwide. The Negro spiritual, the blues, and of course, jazz. So I honor the origins of jazz in two poems called Jazz Messenger's Sound Effects and Jazz Messenger's Academic Pursuits. I'm going to do the first one today, Jazz Messenger's Sound Effects. A message has been sent to this earthly place, delivered by people of the African race. It is a message from high above, sealed with the Creator's love. It was created in the labor pangs of a racist ideology, nurtured into a sound whole and free. It is an African sound, the sound of a musical art form, the music of Africa's children in America born, delivered as their sound pure and sweet, felt in the rhythm of a jazz beat, felt as the vibration of their soul, felt in their music that will never grow old. Their music is around the world known. Enjoyment comes from its pure tone. And when the sound of jazz is heard, the listener does not wish to be disturbed. To hear jazz is to be internally affected by a sound the jazz messengers have perfected. Jazz is the perfection of the soulful, the sacred, unencumbered. Jazz is naked. It is truly an intimate sound, visceral and profound, emanating from people who touch their core, the core where freedom is found. Jazz is how freedom sounds. message of freedom continues to ring true because the jazz messengers brought it through. Through middle passage water, trauma and bloodstains, through drum beats, chants, screams, and pain, through the weight of cotton sacks on bare backs, through singing the blues and learning in one-room schools, through healers, storytellers, and rituals, through living in a nation oh so cruel. They brought it through call and response in a sacred space, a space where they found the Creator's face. Indeed, jazz is the Creator's perfect intent, delivered as a musical sacrament. This music, the jazz messengers baptized and ordained, then played their music to keep their people sane. And with their music, with their rhythm, with their soul-kissed sound, jazz messengers could do nothing but astound, but astound, but astound. Thank you. So I have some jazz messengers with me here this evening. In the drummer, Nasser Abadie, the bassist, Wes Biles, the piano player, Bill Washburn, and our saxophonist, Lorenz Wheatley. And they are now going to further astound you with Song for My Father by Horace Silver while I step away. Thank you, thank you. Thank these musicians, they're fabulous. They've taught me some things too, but I'm not going to reveal what they've taught me. I want to take this time to thank the audience, everybody who's come here. I'm so grateful to see you. You have just warmed my heart. You have warmed my heart. And that song that they played, Song for My Father, makes me think of my dad, who was both a jazz man and a hat man. And I had written a poem for my dad when he was called Hat Man. He loved that poem. My father passed in 2020, and I'd also written a poem for my mother called Mom's Voice. She had an amazing voice, and she passed last year. But they both appreciated their poems, and I'm not sharing them this evening because I'm trying to keep it together, But I do want to make sure that they're here. My dad's name is Sam Green. My mom's name is Argentine Day. You got to call these ancestors. You got to call them. But I also want to especially acknowledge the people who made this event possible for me. And I'd ask, if you read in the program, you see the poetry patrons, you see the production team, you see COST. COST is an acronym for CeLillianne's On-Site Support Team. I love that. They have helped to make this cost effective, you hear me? Thank God for them. They are here. They're wearing the black pants and white shirts. If you see them, they're here. I see you. Thank you. They're up in the balcony. They're sitting around. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I also want to thank all of my siblings are here today. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and 2 came from Pennsylvania, 1 came from North Carolina, 1 lives here, but they're all here. And the last time we were all together was at my mother's funeral last year, so I'm glad that they are here. And I'm sure my mom and my dad are glad that we're together doing something positive. So I appreciate them. But as we know that, everything with your relatives is relative, right? But they're here, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So this next piece was inspired by a visit I took to the National Museum of African American History and Culture when that museum first opened in 2016. On the lower level, next to Harriet Tubman's shawl, there's a glass case. And in that case, there was an exhibit of a notice of a $100 reward written in 1853 by an enslaver named James Belt. And he wanted to recapture this black man who had taken his freedom. The black man's name was Richard Lowe. He was a blacksmith. But what really grabbed me about this exhibit, is that the way he described this man in his notice. He said he was tall and stout. He had a missing tooth, a full suit of hair, about 28 years of age, and perfectly black. He literally wrote in an 1853 notice to recapture him how perfectly black he was. And that just moved me so much that the poem started to come to me right there in the museum. And I thought, surely if this enslaver, this white man, could see the perfection of blackness in 1853, that we should be able to see it now. So the title of this poem is, I Am Perfectly Black. I am perfectly black. My ancestors were, and I am, perfectly black. I need not deny it or put on an act. Who I am is an undisputed fact. I am perfect. I am black. I come from ancestors who came through. I know what I am here to do. I am here to keep their legacy intact. With them, I have a spiritual pact. Our soul connection is real. Their power I am able to feel. In their power, I know what can be done. Toward them, I do not walk. I run. Their spirits are ever near, reminding me of what is clear. It is clear the future is now here. The future of ancestors who cried perfect tears tears through which they were able to see descendants not yet born absolutely free. Of those descendants, I am but one, yet many more are destined to come. For those to come, I must be true, and like our ancestors, I must come through the middle passage of this day and time, moving humanity into a new paradigm. In this knowledge I firmly stand, rooted to our ancestral land. I stand firm, I stand free, girded by ancestors who are here with me. Like them, I am perfectly black. I am perfect. I am black. I am perfect. I am black. I am perfect. I am black. Thank you. So in this country, far too many perfectly black people have been murdered by the police. And sadly, much of what Dr. Martin Luther King dedicated his life to continues in 2023. The origins of institutionalized racism, discrimination, and police brutality go back to institutionalized slavery in this country. And police killing of black people today is much like the casual killing of enslaved people in the 1800s. So this next work is one of my poetic essays. It's entitled Casual Killing. Casual Killing. We are not here to be your minister. Instead, we convert you into that which is sinister. A monster, a demon, a menace. For causing your death, we will not do penance. We convert your humanity into what, not who we see. In our conversion, we see no basis for equality. Your humanity we have been taught not to see. 3/5 of a human is the origin of your pedigree. It was written in the United States Constitution. The 13th Amendment was a compromise solution. Prisons have not stopped using the labor of slaves, and for police killings, charges are waived. The law upheld the casual killing of a slave, no remorse, it was not viewed as depraved. What's the difference between a slave and you? Casual killing still holds true. You casually kill each other too. This is what centuries of self-hate can do. Your casual killing, your self-hate, the system can easily accommodate. Arrests, charges, trials, prisons, probation, and parole. For you, the system has a clear goal. The system accommodates us as well. We have a different story to tell. The system is just for us. This is why you continue to fuss. We need not march, protest, or make demands. For us, the system works just as planned. Grand jurors ensure we are not publicly tried. Your death by our hands will be justified. We kill with impunity and with government immunity. Your acts of surrender, we do not remember. Hands in the air, we do not care. A boy, a teenager, a mother, a father, protecting your life, we need not bother. In you we see a danger, a suspect, a weapon. We see melanin in your complexion. This is how we profile you, men, women, and children too. It is not possible to serve or to protect people who you profile and do not respect. We can beat or kill black women without hesitation, knowing the outcry will not span the nation. In 2 seconds, we can shoot your boy dead on a playground and expect the system to protect us as we move around. We can end your teenager's life and leave his body in the street, a 4.5-hour warning in midday summer heat. For you, this is how we meet and greet. Our power and control is not meant to be discreet. represent the system. We embody the law. You are not to question what we say or do. Do not speak unless spoken to. You must obey. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am are the words to say. The words I can't breathe are not on our list. These words sound like you're starting to resist. To resist our chokehold is much too bold. It means you're attempting to live. Your attempt to live we cannot forgive. In a system born of racism and persistent hate, your words, your breathing carry very little weight. Breathing is not our priority for you. Our prior conduct has shown this is true. If you say I can't breathe multiple times, each time increases your resistance in our minds. How can you desire to breathe and to breathe free? Your desire for freedom is a human condition. For you to want it raises our suspicion. We see your breathing insistence as an act of resistance. We define resistance exclusively. It does not matter what others see. The people who videotape, watch, or hear, these witnesses do cause us to fear. To fear your humanity might be accepted. To fear your desire to live might be respected. Yet witnesses do not temper our behavior. We know the system will rule in our favor. So of course we can use more force. We decide when to escalate the situation, regardless of witness observations. It is our judgment to make. If you die, we made a casual mistake. We do not need a pretense. In the line of duty is our defense. The system serves and protects us without reservation. It is what we deserve. It is our expectation. This system was not designed with you in mind, except to control, contain, or confine. Of course, liberty and justice for all is America's ideal, but for you, this was not meant to be real. Thus, your death by our hands is not really a crime. The prosecutor will make sure at just the right time. In the meantime, we do share a common thread. If we interact, you could end up dead. Casual killing. Thank you. So as a follow-up to that poem, the title Casual Killing was inspired, if you will, by a statute passed in our first colony, Virginia. They have a law called an Act about the Casual Killing of Slaves, an Act about the Casual Killing of Slaves. And you can Google it and read it. But the law was passed to basically absolve enslavers, overseers, and white women who were killing slaves, people who were enslaved, rather. And this would absolve them of any wrongdoing. So, an act about the casual killing of slaves. The black body has an unmatched historic and current value in this country. The body also speaks even we do not say a word. This next poem interprets body language. Body language. He's half a block away. I hear what his body has to say. His body says I have to appear preoccupied, I have to appear almost disguised. He believes I will not speak to him, so he uses his body to pretend. To pretend he's not there, he believes I may not care. Yet his body language told a lie. The lie that he would be ignored by me, that I would walk by him and not see. Not see my brother, my family, my friend, but I won't ignore him. I won't pretend. I won't pretend I do not see the man who reflects me back to me. Sadly, I've heard this body language before. This language I routinely ignore. I know what the message of this culture says I should do. I also know that message is not true. It's not a risk for black men to speak to me. Black men I always see. I do not see them as criminals or suspects. I acknowledge their humanity. I give them respect. With me, a black man should experience a sense of relief. I'm his counterpart meant to bring him peace. I am not the one who pretends that I do not see black men. Of course, this he doesn't know as he walks my way. He doesn't know I speak to black men every day. I am the product of a black man's seed. I must speak to black men, yes indeed. So when this black man walks toward me, I will speak to him and he will see. He will see me bring the lie of his body language to an end, just as he begins. As he begins to look away, I'll startle him when he hears me say, hi. Yet I anticipate the tone of his reply as if to ask, why? Why did you speak to me? Too many act as if they do not see. But I see my brother, my father, my uncle, my son. I know that together we are one. We are one and the same. Not to speak to each other continues the pain. I don't want him to feel pain, to feel hurt, or to feel weak. I want him to open his mouth to naturally speak. I want him to speak with a smile bright and wide, a smile that makes me feel warm inside. It's the smile wrapped around the word hello. And when he says it, we both know. We know I have done what I should do. I have acknowledged his humanity and mine too. His smile is what I need to see because I am him and he is me. More importantly, his smile, it lets me know why I love black men from head to toe. Body language. During the Obama presidency, I wrote several poems about the Obamas, and I can't do all of them today, but I wanted to do one, which was my take, a little different take on the Second Amendment. And it's called The Right to Bear Arms. The Right to Bear Arms. There is no reason to be alarmed. She has no intent to harm. Our new First Lady does have something to say. She says it in a quiet power play. It's the power radiating from her smile, the power demonstrated in her style. It can be seen day or night as she wears what she thinks is right. Some say hit or miss has been her fashion sense, while others come to her complete defense. For those who think she has not conformed to protocol standards or predecessor norms, for those who want the First Lady covered up and in sleeves and who for prior First Ladies continue to grieve, this is a new day, with the new First Lady having her say. During any season for internal reasons, she is her own woman and she will decide when her arms she will not hide. Protocol enforcement certainly has its place, but not in her closet space. It is her subtle power play, one in which our First Lady will have her way, as she maintains a sense of herself in order to sustain her emotional health, balancing who she is with who others would like her to be. She is the First Lady many thought they would never see. So for those who need more time to become accustomed to her face, for those who will never accept her presence in White House space, this is a new era, a new day. Things will be done a different way. We have a new First Lady. She is a First Lady of grace, dignity, and charm, and she has the right to bear arms. I think I'm a little ahead, okay. The next poem poses the question, who is your Judas? Who is your Judas? Who is your Judas? You know who he is because he occupies your mind, taking up valuable space and too much time. Everyone knows when Judas walks through the door. Judas is someone not to be ignored. Who is your Judas? Who is the person on whom you thought you could depend? The person who would be there through thick and thin. Has someone close provided your betrayer's kiss? A family member you could not dismiss? Did your Judas bring you to life or plant your seed? Did your Judas fail to meet your emotional needs? Who is the person you call your sister or your brother? A friend like no other. Who have you given access to your soul? Who have you given your secrets to hold? Is your Judas a classmate, a co-worker, or your priest? A person who you would suspect the least? Have you invited your Judas into your life? Could your Judas be your husband? Maybe your wife? Who was the person close enough to betray? The person who seems to get in the way? Well, this is the person you will need on your way to the top. And you must understand you will not be stopped. We all have at least one Judas. Some of us have two. And don't forget the person who introduced your Judas to you. Once you identify your Judas by name, forgive him and thank him for leaving by the door in which he came. Recognize what you must do to rise above your so-called betrayer. Do not allow your Judas to become your dream slayer. If you do, you will help your Judas to betray you, and that's not something you ever want to do, because that would mean your real Judas is you. Yes, your Judas could be you because you are present in all that you do. So remember, there's at least one Judas for me and one for you too. But the real question is, whose Judas are you? As we come up on Mother's Day, which is May the 14th, Mother's Day really is every day. Father's Day, every day. But this particular poem is dedicated to the mothers in here, those with a mothering spirit. And it came to me while I was in the midst of writing all these poems. So in some ways, I feel like I have given birth to poetry and to poems. I have not given birth to biological human beings because I haven't applied for that job. That's the job. But this is called I Didn't Know. It's for the mothers in the room. I didn't know. I didn't know I could love like this. I didn't know I could experience such bliss. I didn't know when you were born in you my heart would now be worn. I had no idea my child could take my heart and teach me to love from the deepest part. I didn't know how much I had to learn, or that from this love I would never return. I had no concept of love like this, or that between us this love would always persist. I didn't know the joy of seeing your tiny lips or the power of feeling your tender kiss. I didn't know that in your eyes I would now see the sunrise. I would see the sunrise and never forget that because of you, God and I met. I didn't know that when I bore a child, I'd be intoxicated by your smile, or that I would gladly shed my tears to erase your doubts and remove your fears. Carrying you in my womb has allowed me to fully bloom. I have bloomed and made room. I've made room for love like this. Love I could never dismiss. You are my child, the fruit of my loins. In the power of love, we are forever joined. Joined in a love that will never set as long as tears continue to be wet. A love like this I'd never known. But with your birth, I've been shown. You've shown me the power of motherhood. Before you, it was a power I misunderstood. I will use this power to move heaven and earth to make sure you know your value and your worth. With you, I have experienced love in its purest form, the love for which I was born. Before you, I didn't know there was love like this, and now I know why I exist. I didn't know it. Thank you. So, of course, to become a mom, a mother, a woman may have to have what this next poem refers to as a black tie, blue collar experience. The name of this poem is Black Tie, Blue Collar. Dressed up or dressed down, look at him and you won't frown. Whether he's in a blue collar or a black tie, he can wear either and look just fine. He's the right height, not too tall. He's an all-season man, winter through fall. He's a man's man through and through, and I have no doubt who I'm talking to. He takes care of himself, he's clean and neat, and he was taught to put down the toilet seat. He eats right, he exercises on a regular basis. In his weight, I find strength and a gentle oasis. He wears a black tie or a blue collar without missing a beat. Inside, he's whole and complete. He keeps it real, expresses how he feels. Whether he's in a blue collar or a black tie, he knows what to wear, when, and why. And he's been known to knot his black tie around his blue collar, and when he does, he makes me scream and holler. I holler with joy untold because he's a man who can't be bought or sold. He's not ruled by the color of his collar or his tie. He's a man who looks you squarely in the eye. A man whose identity does not come from labels on clothes. Labels change daily like the socks covering his toes. Yes, this man knows who he is and how to think for himself. Yet he's secure enough to ask when he needs some help. Of course, the head he thinks with is on his shoulders. Yes, this is a man with whom I could grow older. Now, I don't think there's anything I've missed. It goes without saying, the brother can kiss. Oh! Oh, yes. Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. He knows what to do with that other head, too, but I'm not going to share that with you. Except, I must finally confess, I like him best when he's fully undressed. I can tell there's some ladies in here had a black tie, blue collar experience. You heard them, didn't you? I heard them. Okay. So this next piece is another more serious perspective about the blue collar worker. I wrote it at the start of the pandemic, and it was inspired by an interview I saw on PBS. Poets do watch PBS sometimes. Not all the time. I do like Democracy Now! But this poem is called What About Us? What About Us? COVID-19, pandemic, virus worldwide. No vaccine, millions infected, thousands died. Applause for the EMT, the doctor, the nurse, well-deserved, unrehearsed. But what about the driver of the funeral hearse? What about the janitor? What about the maid? Overworked, underpaid? What about us? We are essential public servants. We fear COVID-19 and we are nervous. We work during the pandemic like medical workers do. We keep working because you need us too. When do we receive your praise? When do we get a much needed raise? We are truck loaders, cashiers, and grocery store clerks. We are the people who daily pack a lunch for work. We are the attendant at the gas station, 12-hour work days without hesitation. Do you ride public transportation? Taxis, buses, subways, trains. We work in the sunshine. We work in the rain. We drive 18-wheelers across America's roads. We transport America's heavy loads. When will we hear your applause? Do you intend to recognize our cause? To live, to love, and to be virus-free. Like you, we do not want to expose our families. We are utility workers and meat packers. Hard workers, we are not slackers. Personal protective equipment is in short supply. We do not want our jobs to cause us to die. We are public school teachers and teachers' aides. Your children we educate and assign grades. For teachers, there has been faint praise. However, there has not been a pay raise. We are seasonal workers on farms, strained backs, weak legs, tired arms. Do you hear the exhaustion in our voice? We work hard, we have no choice. If we wake up, we go to our jobs. Many of our employers are wealthy snobs. We pick up your garbage, recycle your trash. Do you tell yourself we have enough cash? Do not be deceived. A living wage we do not receive. We deliver packages, medicine, and the mail. You expect us to work without fail. Sadly, we disproportionately die from COVID-19. Underlying medical conditions, our health is not pristine. Health insurance we cannot afford, but our work ethic cannot be ignored. We are the bellhops, the porters, the red cap. We deserve to hear your hands clap. Working at our job daily is expected, yet daily we do not feel respected. We work behind the scenes, in the basement, underground. For us, you generally do not hear a sound. But we work a daily grind, and our work conditions are not fine. For the sake of our families, we would like to rest. We would like to earn enough to invest, but we don't. Why is there no fuss about what happens to us? We are the us that too many refuse to see. We are the invisible necessity. We are the us that each of us needs. Humble, hardworking, with a family to feed. What about us? close to the end here, my next poem is actually the first poem I ever wrote. And I wrote this poem in 2001. My intention was to write a children's book. I wasn't even thinking of it as a poem other than it rhymes, so it would be easy to read to a child. And I read it to church members of mine at my home at a dinner party. And thereafter, I read it at this store that used to be here called Sister Space and Books. That was my testing. But I've since had the opportunity to share it at weddings and babies' blessings and birthdays and church anniversaries and even a wedding in Ghana. And I shared it from 2003 to 2005 before I had any other poems. And I would invariably be asked by people about my other poems. And I would say, I don't have other poems. I was the one poem woman, let me tell you. And it started to get a little embarrassing because they were like, where are your other poems? So I was like, well, I don't have any more poems. But apparently they knew something that I didn't know, that they were coming. You know, they knew they were coming, but I did not know this. And I appreciated that because it was an encouragement of a sort, but it was also a way of me gradually moving in or preparing me for what was going to come. And so this is called Because I Love You. Because I love you. Because I love you, I thank God for the day of your birth. Because I love you, I help you grow and know your self-worth. Because I love you, I show my commitment to you every day. Because I love you, I believe in you come with me. Because I love you whether near or far. Because I love you, I accept you as you are. Because I love you, I treat you with respect and dignity. Because I love you, I ask God to teach me to love you faithfully. Because I love you, I listen to you with my ears, eyes, and heart. Because I love you, I miss you when we're apart. Because I love you from head to toe. Because I love you, I tell you and everyone I know. Because I love you, I value that you're one of a kind. Because I love you, I encourage you to speak your mind. Because I love you, I wipe away your tears. Because I love you, I trust God to erase your doubts and fears. Because I love you, I spend time with you. Because I love you, I share who I am with you. Because I love you, I nurture you with tender, loving care. Because I love you, I cherish you as precious and rare. Because I love you, no ifs, ands, or buts. Because I love you, I tell you the truth, no matter what. Because I love you, I kiss you and hold you in my arms. Because I love you, I keep you safe from harm. Because I love you, I pay attention to how you feel. Because I love you, I show you my faith in God is real. Because I love you, I laugh, cry, and sigh with you. Because I love you, I share who I am with you. Because I love you, I tell you I'm sorry when I'm wrong. Because I love you, I try not to be away from you for very long. Because I love you, I forgive you when you hurt my feelings. Because I love you, I support you when you need emotional healing. Because I love you, I comfort you when you stumble or fall. Because I love you, I answer when you call. Because I love you, I understand when you need some space. Because I love you, I encourage you to live life at your own pace. Because I love you, I pray with you and for you to God above. Because I love you, I ask God to bless you with joy, with peace, and more love. Because I love you. I want to say thank you again for coming. Oh, thank you. I have one more poem. I'm going, oh, look at you. Thank you so much. much. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Y'all gonna make me cry. I'm trying not to cry. I'm trying not to cry. I'm trying not to cry. But I have one. Before I do this last poem, I just want to say just a little bit about this location. The First Congregational United Church of Christ, this is their location. And for several years, I attended church at the Unity Center of Truth in the nation's capital. We rented space from this church. And that was at a time in my life where I grew spiritually with Reverend Lafayette Seymour, who was a spiritual father to me. And I used to say, Reverend Seymour helps me to see more of who I am. I loved him. And I didn't know at the time the history of this building until last week. So this is like the ancestors always working some things out. I went on the website, I saw this video, and I encourage you to go on the church's website and look at the video about this particular church. It was founded by abolitionists in 1865. And it's been at this location since 1868. And one of the founders was Oliver Otis Howard, who Howard University is named after. And I am a graduate of Howard University School of Law. HU, you know. Uh-oh, that's the first time I've done that. So, since this church was really, Unity was the only church I've ever joined, there's a spiritual significance to me being in this space. And when they were tearing it down in 2006, I was very sad. And I remember coming by here one day during the demolition, and I took one of the bricks home with me. So from the first time I came in here, after they rebuilt it, I just knew I would love to do poetry in here one day. So thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. And thanks to Reverend Lafayette Seymour, I had seriously considered divinity school, and I would be like the lay minister from time to time. And whenever I would deliver the message, I would bring my own music, my mom, because she had an amazing voice. So she's here with me too, and I feel like for me to have this event at this time in this space, you've made it really very special for me. And I want to thank these amazing musicians who taught me so much. They've taught me so much. They've taught me so much. Nasser Abadé on the drums, Wes Biles on the bass, Bill Washburn on the piano, and Lorenz Wheatley on the saxophone and the flute. Thank you so much, gentlemen. The name of this last poem I'm going to do is called Dream Keeper. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to do it. Dream Keeper. In the sacred space of my heart, in the vibration of its deepest part, I keep their dreams safe. I am a dream keeper, watching for the dream sweepers. They come as street sweepers in disguise. They're easy to recognize. They come during the day to sweep the power of dreams away. my duty to hold dream sweepers at bay, knowing dreams have something to say. And for the silent creeper stalking at night, trying to steal dreams from eyes shut tight. This silent night creeper is no match for a dream keeper. I am here to live my ancestors' dream to be bolder, standing on their broad shoulders. Through me, their dream continues to live. Through their dream, I continue to give. I give as a woman, a poet, a teacher, and most of all, as a dream keeper. Thank you so much. You see, I had a little cheat thing right here. I had an elevator to elevate me. I just want to say, before you leave, I would like to do these type of events again. But in the meantime, I'm working to create a podcast, so I hope you have signed or will sign my guest book. Print your name, please. I said sign, but I really mean print, because I can understand the printed word. But please do that. And just thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Thank the band. Thank you. Okay, Marina. Oh, my God. Let me just say, I have been asked to do one other poem. We got a little time. It's a short poem, and I'm. Okay. This is But this, let me see. But it's called Three Wise Women. Number 40. Three Wise Women, and this poem is my dedication poem to the women, my three wise women. You know, you heard of the three wise men. Well, these are the three wise women. Three wise women. Uh-oh, phone. There is no reason to be alarmed. She is, wrong one, right to bear arms. Three wise women, three wise women. See that phone ringing threw me off. Phone ringing threw me off. Oh, I like that. Yeah, do that. Yes. Like that. Okay, wait. Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Ida B. Wells. Three wise women with much to tell. They live with the power and dignity of a proud race, carrying the womanhood this country tried to erase. Pedestals they did not need, they were elevated by their deeds. Sojourner talked, Harriet walked, Ida balked. Detractors sought to knock these women down, but those detractors could not stop their freedom sound. Sojourner replaced her enslaver's name with the name of truth. The truth is what she spoke to countless groups. Moses, they called Harriet as she traveled north and south. Freeing her people from bondage is what she was all about. Ida wrote of lynchings of black people by the score. Her facts and figures could not be ignored. Tirelessly, these wise women worked to see their people free. Because of their work, I can stand and be me. Three wise women, my pyramid of power. And I can call on them at any hour. They sent me a message that they're watching my back. I know they will help me to stay on track. These wise women moved in God's truth. The fact that I stand here is the ultimate proof. The proof of the power of what a black woman can do. So I honor Sojourner, Harriet, and Ida too, three wise women.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
That's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But we do really have to go because we only paid for a certain amount of time in here. So thank you so much for coming. Really, please, thank you so much.